Hello there, Brick Fanatics. Right, it is July 2024, which means that it's actually time to talk about January 2025, because the first rumours for LEGO Star Wars next year have started to appear online. Rather though than just reading out a list of these rumoured sets, which you can get from basically anywhere on the internet right now, we want to really dive deep into this. We want to talk about the big question, how these sets fit into a potential theme in 2025, what the LEGO Group's approach might be, and how it might be different from what we have seen before. So for each of these 5 rumoured sets, we are going to be asking the question, so what? Okay, LEGO Star Wars is continuing in 2025. So what? First off, it is important to bear in mind that you absolutely cannot 100% trust any LEGO rumour, because anybody can go online and start making this stuff up. I think there's going to be a new Nubian LEGO Starfighter. I think they're going to do one based on my personal fanfic. Like, anybody can make these things up. You cannot take these at face value. What's more, even if something is accurate now, it might not necessarily be accurate in 6 months' time. The LEGO Group has been known to change their schedules around, have been known to cancel some LEGO sets or introduce other LEGO sets. It's not 100% certain that even if something is definitely being worked on right now, it is definitely going to be released. Then there's the game of telephone that sometimes happens with rumours, where things get misconstrued or miscommunicated, and somebody ends up thinking, oh, this set is going to be a Death Star playset, but actually it's a Star Destroyer. Like, you can't take these things at face value. That said, these particular rumours come from fairly trustworthy sources who have a fairly good track record in the past. The rumours that we'll be addressing in this video come from 2 sources. Instagram user Childish Landino Chronicles, which just, beautiful name, and Eurobricks user FoggyFate. First up, Ahsoka's Interceptor. With a rumoured 290 piece count and a rumoured price of $44.99 US, this is not the cheapest Interceptor that we've ever had. These tend to be slightly smaller LEGO sets generally, and especially with around that piece count, we're not expecting this thing to be absolutely huge. So $45 does feel like a bit of an ask, and it does definitely add to the pile of things that LEGO fans have been complaining about recently when it comes to the pricing, particularly of LEGO Disney sets. Disney have been known to ask more and more of their partners in a lot of aspects of their business, and so it's not tremendously surprising to see these prices reaching up, and it's not entirely surprising that these additional costs for licensing fees might be passed on to the consumer, but at the same time, that doesn't make it any easier to stomach. At the same time, the LEGO Group is unlikely to want to take a hit on some of these sets and the pricing of them. There's a benefit to keeping the Disney tax nice and high, so that if somebody goes into the store and sees a Jedi Interceptor on the store shelf and a Dreams set next to it, and the Dreams set is significantly cheaper, but with a similar piece count, then people picking up that Dreams set mean that the LEGO Group doesn't have to pay a licensing fee, they get more money for these sets. So rather than lowering the price on the Disney Star Wars stuff so that they then end up making less of a profit, it's in their interests to kind of price these a little bit higher so that people who are definitely going to buy those end up having to tolerate that higher price, while then also making the homegrown LEGO sets just a little bit more appealing. The question is how far that can actually be pushed before people just start saying, no, I'm not buying LEGO Star Wars anymore. And I do suspect that there's still a little bit of room before that happens. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where unless consumers start really voting with their wallets, we're not going to see a change. Anyway, with that in mind, let's talk about the ARC 170 Starfighter. This one has a rumoured piece count of 497 and a rumoured price of $69.99 US. So again, also quite pricey, but something that we've not seen in the LEGO form quite as often as the Jedi Interceptor, and one that I feel would be quite welcome among certain circles of the LEGO Star Wars fandom. If these rumours do prove true, it certainly seems that the LEGO Group is a bit more ready for the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith than they were for the 20th anniversaries of The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. Yeah, they're definitely going big on that if these rumours prove true, because with the Jedi Interceptor and an ARC 170, these are probably the 2 most recognisable newly added ships that appeared in that film for the first time. This rumoured ARC 70 will apparently have 100 more elements than the last time we had one of these sets, and so that gives us just a little bit more scope for a slightly larger build, something slightly more detailed perhaps, something that will appeal to collectors who would love to see a slightly more nuanced version of this ship. The big question with this one is where they would go for minifigures, because there are all kinds of possibilities. Because yes, on the one hand, you could just have some lovely clone pilots, and that would be great in and of itself. But what about like a Clone Commander Wolf, for example, who is one of the most hotly requested minifigures at this stage? We've seen him appear in video game form, but we've not for a while had any rumblings about adding another Clone Trooper Commander to the increasingly wide lineup of these characters. Alternatively, Plo Koon. It's always nice to have a Plo Koon minifigure. Alternatively, and this, it doesn't feel like quite the right fit for this particular set. I don't know, maybe there are some other slots in the lineup where this might appear. But I feel like we're due a Ki-Adi-Mundi. Oh, I don't know. What about that droid attack on the Wookiees? I feel like it's his moment to shine in LEGO form again, if you catch my drift. Anyway, there are a couple of TBC LEGO sets on this rumour list, which we have kind of the shape or the outline of a set, but we don't actually have any details. So one that will cost $99.99 and has 1,048 pieces, and another that costs $49.99 and has 450 pieces. These are two potentially, I don't know, brick-built-ish sets maybe? Who knows? Dioramas, or maybe something to go with C-3PO and R2-D2, like a chopper, which would be quite nice, or something else along these lines, or something completely different. There's not really any sense in speculating too heavily on these sets because we have absolutely no idea what they could potentially be. Far more interesting are the rumours of a Home 1 LEGO set, the Mon Calamari Star Cruiser from Return of the Jedi, which would apparently have 559 pieces and come in at $69.99. This mid-sized starship would sit nicely alongside things like the Invisible Hand and the Tantive 4 and the Millennium Falcon, and just add to that collection of ships. And certainly if the LEGO Group follows the pattern that we have seen in 2024, that feels like the way that they'll be going. Now, the big so what with this one? Well, if we're getting a Home 1, and then last year we got the Invisible Hand, then it almost seems as if the LEGO Group might be using these mid-sized starship models as an opportunity to do ships that we've never really seen in LEGO form before. Home 1 is one that, well, it would be nice to have it in a really big UCS kind of size, but at the same time, I don't think the demand would be there for it in the same way that we would have the demand for, say, a Star Destroyer, simply because it's not quite as iconic. We've had a little section of the inside of Home 1, sure, with a little A-wing, but we've not had the outside of the ship, and I don't know at what kind of scale would work other than this mid-size scale in really giving LEGO fans this thing without committing too largely to a set which most people would not actually recognise from the film. It also doesn't help that Home 1 is, I think, not entirely suited to LEGO treatment in general because it's quite bumpy. And that's not always easy to translate into LEGO form. Regardless, if the LEGO Group is giving us Home 1, and if we've already had the Invisible Hand, then maybe these mid-sized starships are an opportunity for the LEGO Group to experiment with the kinds of LEGO sets and the kinds of larger LEGO starships and cruisers that we wouldn't normally get in LEGO form. And if that's the case, brilliant. 2025 is looking very exciting, although I imagine they will only ever kind of dip their toes into this while also doing the more iconic and more recognisable and more financially lucrative sets like the Millennium Falcon and the Tantive 4 and the Executor. Now, the last set on this list is by far the smallest, but perhaps the most intriguing as it hints at what the LEGO Group is hoping for and planning for in the future with LEGO Star Wars, not just in 2025, but beyond that. Potentially, if this rumour proves true, we'll be getting a 4+ set based on the Naboo N1 Starfighter. The set is rumoured to have 92 pieces. It being a 4+ set, these would be kind of larger and chunkier and easier to slot together, and would potentially cost $29.99. Now, I think it's safe to say that in 2025, 4-year-olds do not have strong opinions about Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Like, obviously, some kids are going to be watching this on Disney Plus or what have you and going, oh, this is the most amazing film I've ever seen in my life. That guy's got, like, a double-connected lightsaber, and that guy's flying around in a pod racer, and, oh, look, the hero is a 10-year-old, and all of that stuff, and it's a lot of fun for 4-year-olds. So I'm not saying that there's not stuff in this film that 4-year-olds are going to connect with. I'm just saying that's not, like, top of the list in terms of Star Wars content for a 4-year-old in 2025. So in 2024, the 4+ sets were based on Young Jedi Adventures, and I've seen them go on discount quite often, and I do wonder whether maybe the approach of basing these 4+ sets on a children's cartoon has not worked out as well as it could have done. That the people that really need to be sold on these 4+ sets are not necessarily the 4-year-olds themselves, but are rather the parents. And a parent is not going to know what a Crimson Firehawk is, because if you've ever seen any of Young Jedi Adventures, it's very fun if you are 4 years old, and it's a bit of a chore to watch if you're older than that. So it would make sense for 2025's 4+ set to focus on The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I use that as the full title because that's what's coming for Star Wars in the near future, should everything work out as planned. Admittedly, Lucasfilm churns through film ideas like Jabba the Hutt churns through dancers. You can't necessarily guarantee that because something is planned as a Star Wars film, it's actually going to happen, but at the moment they're working their way towards The Mandalorian and Grogu, a film culmination of everything that they've been building with the Mandalorian Disney Plus show. And it has to be said that of all of the Disney Plus Star Wars shows, the one that appeals to younger fans the most is The Mandalorian, because Grogu is just so cute, and because there's a lot for them to invest in there in that relationship between father and son. Plus, using the straw poll solely of the younger Star Wars fans in my particular house, it turns out that even among the rising generation, there is a lot of appeal in seeing Luke Skywalker show up and just wreck a bunch of Dark Troopers. Dark Trooper Attack, that was a set that was well worth picking up. We have definitely got our money's worth out of that one. I probably need to buy a second one, to be honest. Anyway, a 4+ Naboo Starfighter is probably not going to be based on the Phantom Menace design of the N1 Starfighter, even though I would love that because I feel like it's well worth us having another one of these. Hey, check it out. I found this in a drawer recently. It's a little the worse for wear at this stage, but this is the OG 1999 N1 Starfighter, and I'd love a 4+ version of this one, especially because it would have probably a fairly similar piece count and work with a lot of the same kind of larger chunky elements. Like, that would be so much fun. But I don't think that that's what the LEGO Group is going to do here, because it would make so much more sense to base an N1 Starfighter on the Mandalorian's custom jobby, and in that case have something that ties into the Mandalorian and Grogu when that film comes out, so that kids can go to see that film, because Disney is really hoping that a load of kids go to see that film and want to buy toys from it afterwards, and then they just march into the local LEGO store or other toy store and say, I want that, Daddy, I want that, Mummy, I want that, give me that Mandalorian and Grogu Starfighter. And then it's small and pliable and easy for them to put together and build and play with themselves. That makes significantly more sense than a 4+ set based, for example, on the Acolyte, which something tells me we're not going to be getting anytime soon. So the big so what for these rumours in 2025. It looks like if these prove true, and again, we absolutely cannot take these at face value, but if they do prove true, then the LEGO Group is looking to mix things up a little bit. Play around with prequels and with Revenge of the Sith in particular, play around with mid-sized starfighters and do something that is a little bit off the beaten track that we've not necessarily had in LEGO form in the same way before, and potentially start preparing in advance for when the next big wave of Mandalorian merch is required. Or none of that is true, all of this is wrong, and there will be something entirely different next year. Now this is pod racing. Make sure that you do all of the regular YouTube things now that you have finished watching this video. Go down into the comments and let us know your thoughts on these rumours and which ones you would be most interested in picking up. Make sure that you also hit the thumbs up button and subscribe and hit the notification bell and do all of the YouTube jazz, because it genuinely does help out the channel. If you are going to be making any LEGO Star Wars purchases in the near future, you can use the QR code on screen now or the link in the description, which will take you straight to the LEGO website, but via our affiliate link it allows us to get just a little bit of the percentage of your sale. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but helps to keep the lights on at Brick Fanatics. Genuinely also does help out the channel. Also, make sure that if you are going to be looking for more LEGO Star Wars news in the near future, that you use brickfanatics.com for all of your LEGO news, reviews and other content, and make sure that you sign up to our newsletter so that you never miss anything LEGO related ever again. Now, with all of that said, thank you very much for watching. May the Force be with you. This is the way. I have spoken. Other glib Star Wars slogans and catchphrases. Bye.